And in this session, we will be talking about faith in action, organizing, writing, and advocating with intention. We will discover how skills such as writing, organizing, and building community can become powerful forms of advocacy. This session explores how Muslims can create meaningful change within our families, careers, and local communities. We'll also learn practical ways to get involved in ways that feel authentic and sustainable. I would like to welcome our speaker, Sister Rhoda Yunus, and mashallah, I know Sister Rhoda from Milwaukee, so it's nice to see a familiar face. Dr. Rhoda is a public health physician, researcher, and educator whose work focuses on aging, ethics, and social justice. She serves as a college consultant at Darul Qasim College in Illinois, an educator at Guidance Academy in Wisconsin, and a consultant from the University of Washington's Religion and Support for the Genomic Healthcare Project. Currently a senior athletic fellow at the Rhodes Trust, Oxford, Dr. Yunus earned her Dr. PhD and MPH from the University of Malaya, and previously served as a senior lecturer at University Technology MARA. Her research and advocacy span healthcare, health equity, refugee well-being, and Islamic bioethics. She is the author and editor of several books, including Aging Peacefully and Displaced and Forgotten Memoirs of Refugees, and continues to bridge scholarship and community work through initiatives promoting compassionate and equitable health systems. And inshallah, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, just to let you know, so hold questions till there. But yeah, go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I prefer to stand when I speak, so I'm going to stand in a while. However, the screen is not there. Okay, it just came. So this is the title of my talk today, inshallah. Faith in action, organizing, writing, and advocating with intention. This is just kind of a generic topic, okay? However, our discussion, inshallah, will be a lot more than that. And I don't want you to restrain yourself, okay, to just this topic. If you have any related question, okay, as long as it's relevant, you can always bring it up. My goal today is not to be able to give you all the answers, okay, because I don't have all the answers to whatever situation or challenges that you're facing right now. So I believe each of you, inshallah, may be involved to some extent, okay, in organizing, in writing, in advocating for any cause that you're passionate about. But my goal today is to kind of help you, maybe equip you or help you with a tool to think and to network and to kind of brainstorm and share insights among ourselves, how to move forward with whatever cause that you're passionate about, inshallah. So before we start, I want to show you a quick video. I think it's about 1 minute, and I'm pretty sure perhaps most of you have already seen this video. But I just want to play it again because I want to then kind of pick your brain and try to see what you think about it. Okay, ignore the ad in the beginning. We all have to bear with all these unnecessary ads.
Door to new turbo.
What's so much shame on you? You say you claim that you care about using AI for good, but Microsoft sells AI weapons to the Israeli military. 50,000 people have died, and Microsoft...
All right, so today's celebration did include some interruptions. During that presentation about Copilot, a woman got up and started shouting about the use of Microsoft technology by the Israeli military. She accused the company of assisting in what she called the genocide of Palestinians. We're told the woman is a Microsoft employee. She was ultimately escorted out of the room.
What's so much shame on you?
Okay, I guess that's it. Okay, can you, okay, I'll just turn, can you make it in presentation mode, I guess, right? Okay, so before we go to the next slide, can I maybe quickly get, what do you think when you saw that video? How many of you have seen it before? Pretty sure, right? Most of us have seen it, right? Okay, what was the first thing that came to your mind when you first saw that video? Anyone? What was your first impression or your first reaction? Before you kind of sit down and analyze it, what was your first impulse, I guess, that came to your mind? Yes, please. Brave, okay. Anyone else? That's it, brave? Yes. Okay. Yes, so if you don't know the context, you might see that as aggressive. That's valid. Okay, anyone else? Okay, all right, so we'll come back to the video later, inshallah, in my next part of the talk. So before we start, what I would like to do is I want all of us to kind of maybe reset our mind a little bit for a quick reflection. As you know, whatever we do, right, in our life, inshallah, if we are to get success from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we always have to be very aware of what is it that is there in our heart, right? So we have to have the right niyyah, okay? So maybe we can take just like 30 seconds, okay? You can close your eyes and kind of tell yourself again, why am I here today? All the journeys, the difficulties, the challenges, the money that I've spent to come here, to be here today, right? It has to, I need to get something real meaningful out of it. So let's kind of think that way, that I'm here today, right, for the sake of Allah and to achieve something great for the inshallah, not just for myself, not just for my personal development, but for the community as well. So when we talk about advocacy, when we talk about writing, we talk about organizing and mobilizing people, we also need to know that it's not just simply any kind of work, any kind of activity, but it is a faith-informed action. That means we do it because it springs from deep inside our heart, because we have this belief, we have a strong foundation as a Muslim, that someone who is not a Muslim may not necessarily share that and may not necessarily be able to appreciate that. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then the second thing I want you to know is that when we mobilize people, when we speak out, when we talk, when we write for a cause, when we feel passionate about something, it's not just simply that we are reacting emotionally about something. Yes, of course, the emotional component has to be there. We are all humans. It doesn't make sense if I say, no, you have to put your emotion aside. No, that doesn't work. Emotion has to be there, because without emotion, a human cannot function in a holistic manner. So yes, we embrace our emotion, but at the same time, intention is very important. That means when you do something, yes, I'm angry about something, I am sad about something, I am frustrated that it's not working the way I think it should, okay, but this is my intention, right? This is my goal. So as long as you have clarity in that, right, then inshallah all your steps along the way will be clearer and will be more structured. Okay, can you go next? Okay, so this is just a decorative slide. Okay, I was just trying to think about what it means, right? What it means when I say faith in action. Basically, it means that we try to align, okay, whatever we do, our action, with our belief and what we say. Because as you know, many Muslims out there, okay, they say a lot, right? They talk a lot. They say this is ABC, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. But oftentimes we see that their practice, right, what they do in action does not necessarily align with what they say. As people say, you have to practice what you preach. So be very careful, because trust me, children, adults, people of all ages, right, the moment you say something, that actually doesn't really matter to them. What matters is what you do. People will look at what you do, and then they will compare your action to your words. That's just how we operate psychologically. People don't really care what you say until they see that you do what you say, then they will have respect for you. So that's how it works. So inshallah, in this session, I forgot to mention that I'll be talking a little bit. I don't want to talk too much. And then I will present 3 case studies where I hope that maybe you can sit in smaller groups, like maybe for the, I don't know, maybe guys, if you can kind of split yourself into 2 or 3 groups, okay, same for the females here. And I have printed out a couple of case studies, and I want you to kind of go through, and then maybe not present, but you can just kind of report back and share, like, what is your strategy? Like, if you're facing that kind of situation, how would you organize yourself? How would you advocate for that cause? So I hope that's okay. Right? Okay, next. Okay, so we start with a verse from the Quran. I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of this, right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna Allah ya'muru bil 'adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi. So the first part of it that I want to focus on, Allah commands justice, okay, excellence, and generosity to close relatives. I want to focus on the first 2 components there, justice and excellence, okay? And you're all young people, Okay, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of creativity, and these are the unique features of young adults or youth, which I have a lot of respect for. So if you look at this verse, right, it says Allah commands justice, okay? And of course, when you fight for a cause, I'm very sure that somewhere in your heart and your mind, you have that sense of justice, right? You have that sense, or you have that belief that this is not just, therefore I have to act, right? Something unjust is happening, maybe some sort of oppression, some sort of discrimination, marginalization, however you perceive it, but you feel that this is unjust, and that's why you mobilize yourself and people around you. Excellence, this is very important, the concept of ihsan, okay? And as you know, ihsan is not just simply doing something good. Ihsan means when you do good, you go to the highest level, right? You achieve perfection, okay? Any questions so far? Okay, can you, next. I think this is a bit long, next. Okay, just focus on the red part. Okay, I know nobody likes reading nowadays. You don't have to read the rest if you don't want to. This is a hadith, a very well-known hadith, right, where our Prophet ﷺ said the most beloved people to Allah are those who are most beneficial to other people, right? So it's very important to know that if you want to be someone loved by Allah, it's not that you pray 5 times a day, I do my Ramadan, I do my Zakah, I do Hajj, and Alhamdulillah, I am good. And then I can stay in my room in my house and I don't bother people. I don't have to worry about the problems out there, right? So the Prophet said, if you want Allah to love you, that's one of the very essential and important criteria. You have to have an impact on people around you, right? If everyone else around you is unhappy, but you are happy, you are good with yourself, that's not how a Muslim should behave. You need to be aware of how is my neighbor doing, how are my friends doing, how are my relatives doing, what is going on with my friends, not in a nosy kind of way, you know what I mean, okay, but out of genuine love and concern, right? What is happening to my community, for example. Okay, next. Okay, so another concept I want to introduce, and this is nothing new. We all know that whatever Allah gives us is a form of amana, trust, right? Our voices, okay, the education that you guys are able to access right now, that millions of people out there are dreaming of, right? Who doesn't want to be in America? Who doesn't want to have access to a college in North America? This is a big and huge privilege that you're getting. Okay, your platform, whatever platforms that Allah has given you, whatever skills and knowledge, right, that you have that other people don't have, whatever talent that Allah has blessed you with, these are all trust, right? On the Day of Judgment, Allah is going to ask you, right? Okay, I gave you, this great ability for coding, for example. What did you do with it, right? I gave you this writing skill, right? Nobody else could write like you do. What did you do with it? Okay, you're going to be asked, right? Your time, your money, your wealth, your life, your skill, whatever that Allah blessed you with, okay, this comes with accountability, right? With responsibility. Okay, and as you know, silence is a moral choice, right? As I said just now, you can be quiet, you can live a comfortable life. That's also a moral choice. Okay, when I see something wrong, I don't say anything. It doesn't mean that this person is exempted. That person is making a moral choice by being silent. So please be aware of that. Okay, next. Okay, this is going to be my last slide, and then we're going to start with the case studies, and then I'll go back to my slides, and then we'll go through it after I hear from you. Okay, so advocacy is not separated from ibadah, okay, and this is, I think, something that I sometimes struggle to convey to a Muslim audience, because there are many Muslims out there who don't see advocacy as something relevant to Islam, okay, so because they see Islam from a very ritualistic lens. They see Islam as praying, as I said, right, fasting, waking up for tahajjud, making dua, memorizing certain verses and certain hadith. That is Islam to them, right? Anything beyond that, what are you doing? Like, are you sure this is even Islamic? Okay, so I get those kind of questions sometimes. So I want you to know that advocacy, whatever that you're fighting for, okay, as long as you're doing the right way for the right reason, then that is part of your worship, part of ibadah. Okay? So writing, organizing, and speaking out are all forms of ibadah as long as you're doing it sincerely and in an ethical way. Okay, so I think I have a next slide, but I want to skip it. Okay, so before we go to the case study, this is something interesting I want to share with all of you, and I want to know what you feel about it. I attended a MAS conference. I think it was MAS last year in Milwaukee. Were you there?
I don't know.
Okay, so okay, she's with me in Milwaukee, by the way. So there was this speaker. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but he was a very experienced activist. He was a Palestinian, and he was also a business owner, a very big company owner. He was the CEO of a company, and at the same time, he was doing a PhD. And he was about almost 60 years old at that time. So at the age of 60, he decided to do a PhD, which was rather strange, for someone of his age, but he had that passion for knowledge. So he shared with us this very interesting thing. He said he did a survey. This was part of his PhD project. He did a survey among a group of American Muslims. I can't remember which state, but he said he found that those who were more religious, were less likely to show interest in any political participation or advocacy work. And those who were less religious had more interest or were more active in political and advocacy work. Okay, I'm not going to say why, but I want you to tell me, what do you think when you see this kind of evidence? What do you think? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Did you hear that? Okay. Anyone else? What comes to your mind when you see this? Yes.
Kind of goes back to what you said, that most Muslims see Islam is just doing dhikr, salat, stuff like that, and they think, oh, I'm exempt from doing that.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Ladies. Yes.
This is honestly sort of tangent, but when it really isn't, practically, it is related, where it's like, at least for younger Muslims probably, where the more mature side is kind of impressed upon them by their parents. I know I'm not sure if it's like a universal thing, but no, typically, some parents want their children to study, like not go to protests and not like do advocacy stuff, largely because it's like they want to try and stay under the radar as much as possible. If that makes sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes.
I think like sometimes some political circles can be like
That notion of like keeping those two things apart, right? Okay, thank you very much. So those are interesting insights. Yeah, so he did not actually tell us why, because he was still doing the study, so he wasn't entirely sure, but some of the speculations that he gave us were kind of similar to what you were saying. So he said his conclusion was that we Muslim community in North America have a huge challenge, okay, to overcome this. So this is like a barrier, right? Because when he went from masjid to masjid, he found that there was some sort of resistance when he wanted to talk about, a political participation, when he wanted to encourage people to vote. So he faced that, and he could sense that, part of the Muslim community did not like that idea. And they were always like telling him, like, why are you so worried about this, brother? Like, we have our own problems. Our youth are not praying. They are not, doing this and that, all these ritual aspects, as I told you. I'm not saying that the rituals are not important. I'm just saying that how do we balance, right? And how do we make sense of being Muslim at the same time and also showing interest in community affairs around us. Okay, so inshallah, right now, are you able to maybe sit and just break yourself into two groups, maybe for the females and two groups for the males? 2 or 3 groups? I imagine that one group, if you have 5 people, that would be ideal, 5 or 6 maximum. Is that okay? And then I will walk around and circulate the papers. Yeah, if you can. Oh, is it? Okay. Okay. So how many groups are there here?
Two guys.
Two group. One here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is one group. This is one group. Is it correct? Okay. Yeah, you can join. Okay. Girls, how many groups are there? So where's the group? Sorry, is this a group? No. Okay. So this row is a group. Is that okay? Okay. Those at the back, the three of you, are you? Is there a group with this? Okay. So you all want to form two groups. Okay. Are you joining? Do you want to join? It's okay? All right, okay. So we have, one group here, one group there. Okay, so we have 3 case studies, okay, and I want you to kind of talk among yourselves, okay, don't rush, take your time. I hope you can choose different case studies. Let's start with the first one. Guys over here, which case study would you prefer? You are privileged because you get to choose first.
Which one?
1 or 2 or 3? There are 3 case studies.
3.
3, okay, they choose 3, so you can't choose 3 anymore. 2, okay, you choose 2. Okay, girls, you can choose 1 or 2 or 3, but it has to be different. The group at the back and group here. You can do 1, okay. Girls at the back, 3. Three, okay, fine. Sorry, girls, you choose 1, right? Okay, at the back 3, right? Okay, so case study 1 and 3. So I'm going to give you, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, because I really want to hear your answers in a very strategic and sophisticated way. Not too many details, but if you can just have a pen and kind of sketch a little bit. You go through the prompts. So I provided a couple of questions at the bottom of the case studies, right? Okay. And I want you to kind of formulate a strategy, okay, a broad strategy or a plan, okay, and consider the points that I listed there at the same time. And how would you actually tackle that situation? So let's see the first point, right? I said, where do you start, okay, and what is your end goal? Okay, and what success means to you. That means when you're trying to fight for that cause, that problem, how do you know that you have succeeded, right? So you have to kind of set your own benchmark, okay, to know that, okay, we have achieved our goal. This is what we want, right? So that you are clear. Okay, number 2, who are your allies, right? You know, whenever you try to fight for a cause, you need to have partners, people who, whether you agree or disagree with them, but if they come and they can sit with you and they agree with what you're fighting for, those are actually your friends, okay, in that cause. And who will be your, I don't want to say enemy, but who is likely to oppose you? Okay. And then, how do you approach these 2 groups? So you have different strategies, right? You must think differently with someone who agrees with you, how you deal with that person or that group, and people who oppose you, how do you deal with them? Okay. And then what kind of data or information you need to prove your case? If you are the one who will present or propose to the administration or leadership, right? What kind of information you think will impress them? What kind of evidence you show them to convince them that what I'm saying is important and you have to listen to me, okay? And then in the worst case scenario, if you are rejected or people don't agree with you, right? What is your plan B? How do you achieve a compromise? Okay, because in real life, and I've gone through this so many times, it is very likely that the first time you present your idea, you'll get rejected. Okay, so how are we going to deal with that, right? And then the last 2 questions are related to your identity as a Muslim and your Islamic values, right? Where do your Islamic values stand in this scenario? Okay, I want you to take some time to kind of reflect, right? As a Muslim, right? How are my values as a Muslim help me shape my motivation and goals? And finally, as a Muslim, right, is there any difference in terms of my approach and strategy compared to a friend or someone, another activist who might be fighting for the same thing exactly in my situation, but that person is not a Muslim? How different would I be? Or how different do I want to be? Okay? Is that clear? Like any question about the case studies? No questions? Okay. Okay, so I'll give you guys some time to talk and to formulate the strategy, inshallah.
Do you want me to put a timer for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. It was good, it was good. Yeah, yeah. It's okay, it's okay. I think it's fine. Yeah, we did, yeah. So I think they got a lot of these people met each other yesterday. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's okay. You're a very good speaker, Bashir. Very good. Just... I like wanted to participate like back here. I was like, I don't think, do they don't need to write anything down, right? Or should they? Or can we give them? Yeah, I told them to kind of just jot down. Good idea. Do you mind if I read it? Yeah, you should go ahead. Just kind of look at the bits. Oh, okay. That's a good. Yeah, so they take it and they just kind of make their own however. It's like we give them their the line, like you know those time bookings, so they just kind of take their own interpretation based on that. Because this this is her like her. I know. No, because right. I was like thinking too, like for me, like I feel like it would take forever to or like I don't know, like when we were initially making it, I was like, is this enough for somebody to like know
like what you present on, like yeah. I'm sure they like that's how it is for like other places too. So we're probably like used to it, but yeah. Yeah, I think so. I know. We're like, yeah, I'd have so many questions. Is this your first year? Oh.
But I wasn't
Which one? Oh, okay. And then was the area. Yeah. Where do you live?
I live in Dallas.
Where do you live in Dallas?
So it's like
Yeah. I'm from Wisconsin, so like for us, like when we landed, it was like 50, 60, and I was like, oh my god, it's so nice here. Like I was like, we like rolled down the windows, we took off our sweaters, cause it's like negative in Wisconsin. Yeah, and we had like 10 inches of snow and everything. So, yeah, and I was like, it's such nice weather, and then this girl I met yesterday, she's like, oh, it's cold, and I'm like, no, it's perfect. Do you guys like? There's like decent. I feel like in Texas in general, like there's a big community. Because when I went to the Austin one, I went to a masjid in Houston. There's like an Indonesian masjid. Yeah. So I was like, wow. Because I've always lived in the Midwest, and there was like growing up, there was like everywhere that I grew up. Like there was like some Indonesians that like went to like the universities, and like my parents were like friends with them. Other than that, like we didn't have a big Indian community. So that's why I started coming to Florida. I'm like, oh my god, there's so many like Indonesians.
there's a lot out there. Especially in Dallas.
Yeah, and like DMV area, I feel like there's a yeah. I've lived in Wisconsin now. I feel like Wisconsin and Chicago kind of combine. So like we will go for like Canadians in Chicago, and then they'll come Chicago people come to Wisconsin, like stuff like that. But yeah, cause we're only like Milwaukee and Chicago is like an hour away. Yeah. So we'll like travel to each other, so it's like combined. But yeah.
Okay.
Is it just me or is it high? It's just me. Like it's terrible. Like that lady, I thought I recognized her. And then there's a girl in the pink over there. I'm like, oh my god, I should know her. Your friend that came to drop off the paper. Yeah, where does she live?
She is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, I don't know. She looks so familiar to me. Like I felt like I should have known who she was.
Did you see her
Maybe I don't know, but she looked like. That's why I like said to them, I'm like, you look so like familiar to me. I don't know. My mom knows a lot of people too.
Yeah, your mom's
so it's
famous.
hard.
Your mom is like, your mom's sister Anissa.
Yeah.
Now that you mention your second sister,
Yeah.
okay. Mashallah.
She's always like, oh, this person. I'm like, I can't try.
She's old.
No, she didn't come. It's just me with I went with like she her and her husband are going to Seattle to visit his family. Yeah. So I'm like the next time. I did you like the experience so far? Yeah, it was. Yeah, and you were driving. Yeah, it's so. Yeah, it's tiring. Yes, yeah, especially because you're like doing a lot of talks too. Okay. Yeah.
I actually wish I had more time to prepare. Like this is
No, this is great. Yeah, I'm like I said, I wanted to participate. Yeah. Mashallah. Yeah, no. Maybe I'll sit over there, but mashallah, it's good. I love this topic too. I think it's a very important topic as well. Yeah.
actually I could have put like domestic violence or something, but I think that's more interesting for the ladies and so.
These are good. I think the boys are doing more like, yeah, than the girls. I hear them like working and working out.
Let's see. This kind of thing generally, I don't know here. My experience is just my main hobbies they are in terms of the ability to plan. They are very visual.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because of how they are, how the ones that do videos are in charge of things.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Like females were kind of oh hell,
Yeah.
give instruction, I'll execute it.
Yeah.
Males are like, okay, we do this way. So
Yeah.
they kind of naturally it comes to
Yeah, and I feel like with females too, that a lot of time they like consider a lot of different like before making a decision, right? Like there's this, you know. We're like actually coming up with a plan too. Yeah.
interesting to see.
Okay, we have 8 minutes.
We can give them more time if they want. Because after this, I will just invite each of the representative to share.
Oh, nice.
And then others can comment and ask
Okay.
questions.
Sounds good.
That will take 15 to 20 minutes.
I'm just going to run to the bathroom.
Okay, we have 5 more minutes. Sorry to interrupt. 5 more minutes, and then we can kind of. I hope you can wrap up your discussion so that we can move on to the next part, inshallah.
do your daughters go to guidance?
No, they do online, they do connections.
Oh, okay. I used to do that. Or I think it was that, or there was another option. When I first moved here, we did it for like a year and a half, and then we went to students.
I'm trying to persuade my second daughter to join guidance next year. Yes, she's next year. They're very competitive.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. You know, it's not easy, like, you know, also, like, school nowadays, like, I don't know, like, but, cause I, like, go to Sunday school, and I just feel like the dynamic of kids nowadays is very interesting. I feel like they're so, like, isolated, also, and then, like, just, like, even amongst each other, like, I don't know, like, maybe it's, like, social media, or I don't know, yeah, it's very interesting to see the difference, cause I, like, graduated 7 years ago now from high school. So, but I still like, I feel like, I don't know, the way that things are is very different.
And then now,
And now everything also is like on Chromebooks and everything, which I don't know how and why. Like when I was in school, like everything was still on paper, and then I feel like within 2-3 years, like after COVID, so quickly now everything is on a computer, and I feel like kids lack the skill now for like basic ideas. To even generate an idea, they need to.
so I have a friend, she teaches, she's a sub teacher, and she told me that you just made it confused. She said one day she went to his class, it's a kindergarten, it's given by kindergarten, so they were like 20 students in public school in Chicago. So she was just telling me, okay, now everyone that takes a paper, okay, then she described, okay, try to draw a underwater creature that has, she was giving some description.
Yeah.
And she said, none of the kids drew anything, they only did accident. And she was like, she was so, she said, just draw anything, imagine something.
There's no like imagination, creativity.
And some of them said, teacher, can you like open the Chromebook to get some ideas? You see the dependence. And she said, what is that? Kids, this is, you do that, okay, if at that age they remove their creativity.
It's almost like an addiction, almost, you know? Like, kind of like the dependency on it is.
So scary.
Yeah, that is really scary.
I teach grade 10 chemistry.
Yeah.
So the other day I gave them a quiz. So it was like a very simple, super easy, and I checked before I gave it to them.
Yeah.
So the math that I was giving them, because in chemistry we have some math. Right?
Yeah.
So the math that I was giving them was grade 6 math. So I was kind of confident they would be able to do it. So I told them more confident about it. I just wanted to, because it's all simple.
Yeah.
And the most difficult was just like multiplication by 100, where you just move the decimal,
Yeah.
and then division by 1,007. Nothing more. Like more than half. And then I asked them, I said, why did you? I said, okay, can't you convert like 2.5 kilogram to grams? I said, and I wrote the formula on the board. I said, it's just multiplication by 1,000. I said, why can't you do it? And they were like, sister, you didn't let us use calculator. I said, you don't need a calculator. She's like, very busy sister, but we all this time we always use a calculator. Suddenly you took it away from us. So we can't. This is basic. So I don't know why we're hating all this.
That's so scary.
Right?
That's scary.
Okay, but if you calculate like 2.5 times 100, I said, you just moved the decimal. And they were like, really? I said, what? This is
I don't know. You know, I don't know, honestly, like.
See, when you're so dependent on the machine, that's what I'm
Okay, we're at time.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I can see that some of you are still discussing. MashaAllah, this is great. As I said, don't worry too much. Okay, don't stress over it too much, because I don't expect like a definitive answer or solution from you. We are all here to learn. The reason why I put those 3 case studies, because I'm involved in those 3 kinds of scenarios. So I want to know how will I deal with these cases, right? So in a way, I'm trying to, take advantage of all the brains I have here. Alhamdulillah. Okay, don't worry about this slide. This is our next slide. Which group is brave enough to volunteer to start? Okay, mashallah, we have one. Okay, I'll pass the microphone to you. Okay, I want you to kind of walk us through your plan. Okay, and then the rest. Okay, this is your opportunity to scrutinize them. Okay, and to give them a hard time. Hello? Okay, so you can give your friends a hard time, okay? Not too much, but just a little bit. Ask them questions, ask them clarifications, right? What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? Why do you plan it in such a way? Or we think it should be different. That's fine. This is a safe space, inshallah, for us to disagree, okay? And inshallah, we'll learn a lot from each other. Okay, go ahead. What's your name, brother?
Irfan.
Irfan, okay.
All right, Bismillah. So for us, we were doing case study 2, which was when you're an employer at a reputable company, and basically the company is invested in some like Zionist type investments, and the goal is to get a divestment from the company. So basically what we decided as a group would be the first steps that you would take is you would want to start with instead of just like kind of coming out with this plan, you would kind of start with people that are more likely to be on your side. So you kind of start small and kind of get a snowball going. So one of the most important things to start with is to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. You know, you have all your data. Okay, is this company like we're really invested in this company? Okay, what does the company do? What is the Zionist company doing with that money exactly? Like, are they do we have evidence that they are like funding some sort of military operations? And also even data about, okay, let's say we have company values, and let's say the company is wanting to build trust in society. Okay, how much does society actually support Zionism versus opposing the genocide? Like, what side do we want our company to stand on? And these kind of things, you want to build up all your data, all your arguments, kind of beforehand, and just do all the research you possibly can. And then you want to start with your allies, with Muslims or people that are kind of similar minded, and you want to gather the support. And then you gotta go up against the ops. So the ops are probably the establishment, the executives, the people that are kind of benefiting the most directly from the investment. And the goal is to full divestment, inshallah, full divestment. But if there is some compromise, we'll do it step by step, and we'll just try to do what we can at each time. So some values that we would uphold by doing this is, as Muslims, we have some brotherhood involved. So we would especially when we're talking with our Muslim co-workers, we'd bring up our shared values of brotherhood and justice and these things. And it also kind of applies towards non-Muslims. When we kind of are broadening our net, we would be talking on a humanitarian lens as well. And I think that is, so when we're actually going up against the ops, you're trying to give your presentation, they will probably have a lot of rebuttals and things like, oh, we can't do it because of X, Y, and Z, and this is where your preparation comes in handy. You have, for example, they're like, oh, our fiduciary duty, we're required by law to, pick the most beneficial option for our shareholders. And it's like, oh, well, actually we have an ethical option that you can do that would still allow you to do this and uphold your company values, because let's say your company might come under fire from a PR disaster, this kind of thing. So you would kind of make it concrete. Instead of just being an ideal, you would show that your idea is really something that you can put into practice. So I think that's everything from our strategy.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Okay, we're gonna... any questions from the floor? Anything which is not clear, any clarification you want, or anything you want to add, you want to help them, or maybe, or you know that what you can do better by maybe doing this XYZ. Anything you don't agree with them? Nothing? Everyone agrees with them? MashaAllah, it's so easy to get consensus in this group.
Wow.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah, I noticed that you also mentioned about there is a possibility of PR disaster.
Mhm.
So can you just mention one of the most
Yes. So, for example, let's say that if you look at the polls and of kind of like you know, the recent events, like actually the PR pressure was pretty significant against the genocide. Like they actually had to, there was some, you know, on a political side, there was actual votes and things happening that shows that there is some force in this side. So for example, if there would be a movement, let's say a divestment movement that is happening across the board, and your company becomes a target, like, oh, because we're invested in this Zionist company, then you know your company would look really bad. Like, you know, all the Palestinian activists, and you kind of now is kind of a majority, especially in the younger generation, they're going to be like, oh man, your company is like, get them out of here, you know. So I guess I'm not very clear on the details, but this is kind of my idea of what that would look like, right?
So basically, if, I'm not sure if all of you know, but there is now kind of an international investment, ethical investment policy or guideline that is being kind of circulated among many across the globe. And many companies, especially the very highly reputable companies, are kind of racing to embrace that. Because if you're not on that list, that means the likelihood of your chance of people investing in you or people having trust in you is lower, because they will look at your company, they check, oh, your company's name is not here. But in order for you to be in that list, there are a lot of requirements. For example, like you cannot invest in this, you cannot invest in that. So that is one of the weapon or tool that you can use. Okay, but of course there are details to that. There are also some debates around that. But that's one of the things that I think we're trying to say.
Yeah, like BDS, I guess, stuff like that.
Okay, mashallah. Any other questions before we move on to the next group? Yes.
This last few years, there has been a lot of movements that non-Muslim also are involved in the movement. How we make sure that the movements are humanitarian driven instead of
Like more inclusive.
yeah.
Of course, I think that's like a key to it succeeding at all. Like if it isn't like that, it would be difficult for it to succeed. And I think that if you look at how the genocide, like the movement against the genocide, like that's how the movement comes off. Like there's a lot of big speakers that are getting a lot of people from, you know, all kinds of demographics, because it's kind of a universal values. And I think that how you'd approach it is definitely with that. Like if you're looking at just the data and the evidence that you're taking, and you're presenting it to someone, you wouldn't give it from an Islamic lens. You would only give it an Islamic lens when you're talking, especially in the initial stages, to your Islamic, you know, your Muslim brothers and sisters trying to get onto that one. Yeah.
So basically when he's saying that you don't necessarily have to frame it as a religious issue, right? Okay, because it is not just a religious issue. I mean, we are all clear about that. This humanitarian issue, it can be a human rights issue, it can be even an economic justice issue, it can be even an environmental issue, actually, if you go deep into the stories, right? There are so many aspects and angles that you can kind of leverage, right, to get people's support, right? So if you know that this group is very enthusiastic about the environment, you can talk about the environmental issue in West Bank and Gaza, what is happening there is also an environmental issue. If you have a friend who is a public health enthusiast, you can talk about it from the public health angle perspective. So that's how you kind of strategize yourself, okay, and be very clever and brilliant about how you approach an issue and know who you're talking to. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay, give them a round of applause.
Okay, next group. Next group. Okay, mashallah, we have one group here. What's your name, brother?
Nicholas.
Nicholas, okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Namasaya Nicholas, Dari, Ohio. So our problem, we had prompt 3.
Sorry, can I ask one question? Where did you live in Malay or Bahasa?
Istri saya dari Bandung. Okay. Okay. I think something with the mic, maybe the cable's loose there.
Here, so I don't think it's these cables.
Okay, that's fine. Can you hear me? Okay, let me talk away from it.
It's a small group too. That's up to
Yeah. I'll just do without it. How about that?
you. Okay.
So our case was
Homelessness in the elderly population. Alhamdulillah, what an issue, what a relevant issue, right? So us as a writer for a media company, right, our target or our goal was to address this issue. So essentially what we're witnessing is there are elderly family members being neglected or even abused at times, and they're left in the street, right? So we took a three-pronged approach for this. So our first pillar was awareness, so making sure that we have an understanding and broader like visibility on this issue, right? Second approach was community connections, and the third was, we call it root cause analysis, but really driving the statistics. So the first step in our plan was, in order for us to drive any change, we have to make a case for the change, explain why it's important, why it's a really significant issue in this day and age. So to do that, actionable steps we would take to start, we would do interviews in the street. We'd take our team of 5 or 6 people, start going canvassing, see if we can also, if we have family members or people that are around us. We're also gonna see what data is available, right? Maybe there's already surveys out there that we can pool and start to compile this data analysis. So with these interviews, with this data, with our deliverable at the end of step 1, we're gonna have a current state analysis. So this is where we're at. We're gonna bring in like defining the motivations of each team. So going back to like, I'm gonna mix each of these steps because we went from top to bottom, but it's all intertwined. So defining our motivations as Muslims would be 1, the rights of parents upon us, 2, the rights of the community upon us, and 3, bringing in, some people require some extra motivation within the Muslim community even. So we'll see if we can like define like the benefit in terms of, if you have zakat, you're required to pay zakat. Here's a zakat eligible initiative that we're going to bring, right? If the first 2 don't drive it. Right? So step 1, like I said, current state analysis, and step 2, we're going to bring in a gap analysis. So here's what we're at, here's what we're missing. So in terms of this is kind of tying in community. So what community resources do we have? Who have we partnered with? What is the current level of support from the government for these initiatives? And then the third bullet point within community is the interfaith dialogue. So we're all aware that the Christian community does a lot of work with homelessness and people experiencing homelessness. So we would start to brainstorm, how do we bridge that gap, focusing on the problem rather than our differences in our religions. So finally, us being writers, in order to raise awareness and start driving change, we're going to put together an article. The article is going to use that gap analysis, current state analysis, gap analysis, statistical data to say, statistical data including the rates of homelessness among the elderly, housing costs, if there's any the survey data after we canvass the street, and then if there's any like mental health data that we can find that is directly or indirectly related to this, right? So pulling all those together, start writing articles, connecting with our media contacts, and at the end of our articles and analysis, we're going to have a call to action, right? So we post an article, we write a website that says, what can you do? And then the actions that our volunteers and our community are going to do, we're going to define it in levels of involvement, right? Some people don't have all that time. So from small being just write a letter to your congressman, to your local government, to large being let's get out there, support the people in the streets, find a home for them. You mentioned maybe a masjid would be willing to take a few elderly in for a night or 2, right? And then down the line, we'll also make proposals, start going to city hall meetings, as we grow that.
Thank you very much again. We're not on the book yet, okay?
Okay.
Has any questions? make sure you have all the facts documented, okay, and you have, if you're not sure, get someone who can help you to get the fact, then you start, okay? So thank you very much. And another round of applause. Okay, then, third group, from the ladies' side, who wants to start first? You know what, sooner or later you'll have to present anyway, so if you finish earlier, then you'll feel relieved earlier. Okay, go ahead, come. Can we give them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So we actually I did the same case study 3. So we're a writer and we're noticing levels of high abandonment and neglect and abuse in our senior citizens. And so what we started with as well was going out into the community and seeking out these senior citizens not only on the streets, but seeing what programs they're already a part of, whether they're in churches or mosques or other shelters, and asking them about their experiences, what they believe led them to this point in their life, and what kind of accumulated to get them there. And then we also wanted to speak to people of the community who have continued to take care of the elderly in their family, and ask them what obstacles that they might have encountered through this, as well as what their peers may have encountered that caused them to abandon the elderly. We kind of assumed it would be hard to get interviews with people who neglected their parents. And then when we were considering our allies and our opponents, our allies we considered to be the people in the churches or mosques or shelters who already have programs, and our opponents we thought might be like the people who believe that money should be allocated to the working class or who they think is actually contributing to society. So our plan was to create a awareness as well as a 5-year plan that was accepted by the community, where resources were made available for the elderly, as well as decreasing senior citizen abandonment by 70%, and to have fully supported programs in place for these citizens. So in order to quantify this, when we were starting our data analysis, we wanted to get an idea of how big the percentage is of senior citizens who are actually abandoned. And this would require some surveys as well as some extrapolation there, and quantify the reasons between reasons of abandonment, whether it was financial strain or we noticed that we feel that this is more prevalent of an issue in the US than in other countries, because here we see less multi-generational households, because people are not only immigrating here, but people are also leaving once they go to school to chase the better opportunities. So one of the things we pointed out for financial strain was looking at what government assistance programs are out there and what the obstacles are for these senior citizens who might not be able to get these programs, because a lot of the times it might be confusing to navigate or hard to prove that you qualify. And in order to increase involvement for volunteering in the programming, we wanted to provide programs for their physical well-being and install spots in youth centers like the mosques or the churches and in schools that kind of give people a place where they can take action from there. So make it easy for people to volunteer in the community, as well as make those places the same places, which are all over the community, where the people who need help can go get it, as well as have fundraisers to raise money for them to help get them a more stable life. And let's see. That's mostly it. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. There's a lot of you doing that. Okay, anything you think is missing, anything like that, anything that contradicts what the group says, for example, any disagreements? Everyone's very polite, we don't want to disagree with each other. Okay, all right. Okay, so I just want to point out one thing that your friend says. Sorry, what's your name, sister?
Adiva.
Adiba. Yeah. Okay. So one extra thing I guess that she mentioned that the two group did not mention was what? Did anyone pick? There's one word. She mentioned a timeline. Remember she said we're thinking of a 5-year plan, right? You mentioned something else. Okay. So timeline, okay, is a very important component whenever you come on the plan. Okay. you must always have timeline in mind, right? First, you assess the problem, right? You verify the facts, you get all the data, right? Then you, as I said, you can look at the first question. I said, what is your end goal? So if you know your end goal, you should also be able to estimate how far you are from that end goal. Okay? You must have some idea. You might be wrong in the beginning, that's fine, but you must have some estimation. Okay, and the more time you spend to get that timeline, okay, trust me, the further you will go. Okay, even if your timeline is wrong, that's fine. Okay, for example, just as an example, if for case study 2, right, which I'm working right now with a couple of my friends doing unaccounted business, we think initially we didn't have a timeline. There was a mistake we did. We just had all that pushing, and then we realized that this is taking forever. This is not working. We should have a timeline. Then we kind of like sit down together and go back and say, okay, you know what? By 6 months we must achieve this, right? By 1 year, so you have some pressure, right? Just like if I say write an essay and submit to me, and I say postdoc, you can submit to me after 10 years, right? And if I say write an essay, submit to me in 2 days time, 12 p.m., right? So it's clear and everybody knows, right? By this time I have to accomplish this. Okay? So the key word there is timeline. Okay, so thank you for raising that. Okay, the last group. Let's welcome them first. Okay, you got some motivation. Which study are you doing? Sorry? Which? The first one, okay. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the first one again. This is something I'm trying to push at my school right now.
Yeah. So basically, we're a high school senior and a student council member, and we're trying to get our school to stop using plastic straws and replace them with paper or metal straws. So first, we would gather data and find out how much waste is created from plastic straws from our school and like how this affects the environment specifically. And once we have this data, we would start advocating to other students and bringing it up to our student council. And if we're appealing to like a Muslim audience, we would bring up that like the earth is an amana and a trust given to us, and it's our responsibility to make sure we like don't like harm it and like do our part to keep it clean. And once we like start to find students who agree, we could start a petition, and we can bring the petition to like our student council and eventually to the school board to start like creating a change in our school. And so our allies would be like other students who agree, and the board might oppose us. So we'd have to like bring up our data and like show how like a lot of people from the school like want to make this change. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Any questions for this group? Any clarification you want? Anything that you feel that is not clear? Okay, can I ask a question? So since nobody asked, so I'm going to ask a question. So you mentioned that you're going to present it to the board, right? And then did you say that the board might disagree?
Yeah.
And then what will you do if they disagree?
We would try to reach an agreement. If it's like a hard disagree, like they don't want to do it at all, maybe we could do a compromise, like maybe encourage people to bring like water bottles instead, so we can use like less plastic straws and things like that.
Okay. What are the potential reasons that you think would prompt the board to disagree with the proposal?
If it's like metal straws, it would probably cost more. So that'd be a consideration. Also, like people usually don't really like paper straws, so
Obviously.
yeah, people might be upset with the school. So
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Does anyone want to add to this group, like what kind of extra things that they can do to convince the board, or maybe among your team members? Like, what extra things can you do? Okay, for example, I'm just trying to give you a scenario. If I'm the board member, right? I say, you know what? If we have to stop buying plastic straw, and now we're moving to paper or the metal straw, what if we have to spend more, and the school doesn't have money? How would you kind of negotiate with that? How would that be?
Fundraising.
Fundraising, okay. One way, what others?
I would say like for metal straws, they're not like disposable. Like if you just maintain them well, it would
That's a very good point. Yes. Grants. Okay, that's another good idea. Okay, so the thing is actually that you have to verify first. Is it really true that it's more costly, right? Because if you kind of do more research, you'll actually find out, and you'll be able to convince the board that maybe it's costing the first 1 or 2 years. If you look at a 10-year period of time, maybe the school will gain. The school will actually save more money, right, compared to what they have been spending. Because the thing is, a lot of times what I observe is that many institutions, they don't want to change, not because they just simply reject your idea. It's because they fear the unknown. They don't know. But if you are there, if you have done the homework, you can convince them, you should look, this is what you're going to get, right? Okay, if you take this change, it might be uncomfortable for the first 2 or 3 years, but then you'll gain a lot more, okay? Then they will actually be on your side. So it's all about convincing, about having your data, having your homework done, okay, and communication, right? And something, it has to be consistent. The first few 3, 4, 5 meetings, what I have experienced, something is complete failure, right? And don't get demotivated. Be consistent. Keep communicating. And after sometimes it takes a while. Okay? Oftentimes for the other person to see your end, right? So you just have to communicate consistently. Don't just after the first few meetings you feel that, oh, then I'm listening, that's it, just stop. Okay? With time, okay, people will see what you're trying to see, but it takes a lot of patience. Okay? Right. So 5 minutes left. Okay. So actually, I have a couple more slides, but I have 5 minutes. So any questions before I kind of go through the rest of the steps, please?
There's one thing I wanted to add to that.
Yes.
We're asking them to make the change, but they have to enact the change, right? So anything we can do to help them with their change management. Because what if they're going to face resistance from students? They're going to face resistance from parents. Helping them have the tool set to address those questions.
That's a good point. Also, sometimes you also need to have an extra plan, right? When the board faces resistance or problems, okay, we're going to be here with you. We're going to help you advance. We're going to advise you what to do. Okay? So I'm just going to give you a quick example of, as an athletic fellow, there's a institute called the Atlantic Institute in Oxford. So we are trying to pressure them to divest from Barclays. Because they have like a huge amount of investment. I don't know how many millions, but it's a huge amount. And we all know that Barclays is completely with Israel is the same stuff. But what we feel, our mistake, okay, I'm sharing with you so that you don't make the same mistake, is that we kept pressuring the administration, right, the leadership. We did our homework, we have our data, right, to show all this thing, but we did not provide enough data. So eventually when the board meets, right, they say, okay, fine, we want to divest, okay, we agree with you, we are against the genocide, or whatever you call it, but where do we put the money? Then they came back to us, they say, what's your proposal, what's your alternative? And all of us were silent, because we didn't do the homework, we didn't go to that level, okay? So now we're kind of at a crossroad, right? So now they have agreed to divest, but now they're kind of like passing back the work to us. Okay, now you tell us where do we put the money, what is the best activity, and make sure that option is better than Barclays. Okay, so that's the homework that we have been given. It's not easy, but I'm sharing with you because if you say that stop using this, you better have an alternative. Okay, you must be one step ahead. Okay, with the audience if you're talking about. All right. Okay. So any other questions before we end the session? I'll probably just run the rest of the slides very quickly. Okay, so organizing, okay, let's wrap up. So organizing is basically, we call it collective power or people power, right? So when you organize, when you mobilize people, it's all about getting individuals or human beings or institutions with you. So you bring them together around a shared concern. Personal touch is very important. So I've spoken to so many leaders, activists. They say that you need to be able to not just speak to people as like a general audience, but you need to know, of course you won't be able to know everyone, but you need to have at least a good sense or understanding of these people at a personal level, okay? Because the closer you are to people, the more likely that they will like you and they will want to support you. Sometimes there are some individuals out there who don't really care about what you care about, okay? They are not as enthusiastic or passionate about a certain cause. But since they know you as someone trustworthy, they know that you have helped them in the past, they know that when you say something you are truthful,
that could be the only reason why they support you. So that matters, right? The personal touch. Okay, next. Writing, I can't emphasize more about writing. Is still very important. I'm using the word still because I know nowadays people don't write anymore. We are very used to, short video clips. That's how we got most of the information. We prefer infographics. We prefer visual information, which is fine. But I still feel like writing is kind of a skill that we are all losing today. It is still very important because writing builds narrative. Okay, and when you are fighting for a cause, remember that always have a narrative. And when I say narrative, you must have a story behind what you're fighting for. Because stories speak louder and more effectively to people. We as humans, we are always drawn to stories, and stories touch our hearts a lot easier compared to facts. If I stand here today and I just give you a list of facts, right, the impact of that will be much less compared to if I play a 2-minute video which shows you a very compelling story. That's just how we are. We are wired. Human beings are psychologically wired to love stories and to relate better to stories because, it's not in this slide? Okay, can you move to the next one? Okay, this is the one. Because when you are able to convey that narrative, right, the story to people, right, for example, instead of telling people, okay, we have this problem, this is the data for homeless elderly, right? Okay, ABC, how many people are on the street, families don't care about them. That's one way of doing it. It's not wrong. But imagine if you come to an audience who doesn't know about the problem you're fighting for, and you show just a 2-minute video of how an older adult is abandoned by the family and live on the street. Like if they see that visually or if they read a story, right, a real life experience, how does that impact them compared to just a list of facts? Okay, so as I said here, so stories and writing, okay, they turn abstract ideas into something more relatable. You can relate to it, it resonates with you, and it transforms statistics into lived experience. So I'm not saying that facts are not important. Fact is the first stage. You have to have your facts, that's for sure. But at a higher level, okay, try to find some sort of narrative building. How am I going to turn this into a story, a compelling story that touches people's heart? You always have to have that component if you want to be more effective, okay? And you humanize the problem, always humanize the problem so that people see that this problem is something that I can relate to, okay? That's it. Okay, so time is finished. We have to stop here. I'm around, okay, all throughout the program, so if you have any questions, you can always come to me for any insight, any ideas that you want to have. If you're working on any project, you can share that with me. I'm more than happy to help. I may not have all the answers, but I can share something that I've gone through, inshallah. So thank you so much for your participation, for your insights and ideas. I will steal some of your ideas that you have shared with me for my own project. So yeah, Jazakallah khair, and I hope you have benefited, inshallah, from the session. Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to Dr. Roda Yunus for attending. And one point that she made in the beginning that stood out to me was making sure that we align what we believe and making sure that we implement that with the skills that we are blessed with. So inshallah we can do that. So just to close, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليه والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Thank you everyone. Our next session is going to be at 11:20 with Chaplain Sakina, and the topic is marriage and tawakkul, readiness and trusting Allah's timing. So thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Also, if you guys have the pens, if you can bring them to the front, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I was late to the talk.
No, it's okay.
The study was actually really fun.
Okay, alhamdulillah. I hope you learned something from there. I wish we had a longer time here because I think actually for this kind of activity you need more time for the and then feedback session.
Yeah, with interactive
That's good, Masha. So you're doing yoga now?
Yeah.
Are you like kind of focusing on any specific topic?
Yes, I'm actually interested in Google surgery, how more people in lower resource settings can access essential services.
Mashallah, okay.
Yeah.
Are you focusing on certain regions? Or?
Right now I'm doing my thesis on Australia.
Okay.
But I'm focused on
Okay. Mashallah, okay. Wow, that's interesting.
I did see you when you walked out.
Psycho.
Salam, yeah, I'm actually, we came from the same school, but I'm studying